What do we mean when we talk about the maternal and infant mortality gap in the United States? The statistic is Black babies die at 3 to 4 times the rate of white babies, and Black mamas die at 2 to 3 times the rate of white moms. As an OBGYN, I think about and talk about this a lot. And there's an image that haunts me. It's the image of a birthday party with a baby, a cake, and a candle. A birthday party that never happens. In all the times I've talked about this, there's one analogy that helps to describe the gravity of this human loss. All of you came here on an airplane, and many of you probably had a small child or a toddler nearby. Imagine if that plane had 200 Black infants, not quite to their first birthday, and that plane crashed. And in a year's time, 11 more planes crashed. And those planes have been crashing for decades and will continue to crash for the foreseeable future. Now, birth is a complicated process, and there is more to it than race. And there's a lot of incredible work going on in this medical community across the country, trying to decrease infant and maternal mortality. We have initiatives with experts focused on decreasing obstetric hemorrhage, decreasing cesarean section rates, decreasing preterm birth, access to prenatal care, treating medical comorbidities, access to birth control, smoking cessation, substance use disorder. All of these incredible and important initiatives continue. And throughout this country, we spend more on healthcare than any other industrialized country. And we have some of the worst outcomes in the world for maternal and infant mortality. If you look at infant mortality, the United States ranks in the world right under Latvia and above Thailand. If you look at the Black infant mortality rate, it's 1 in 100, which is the same as Libya. We are working in a system that offers neither health nor care. These outcomes hold true even when we account for and address socioeconomic status, education status, substance use disorder, medical comorbidities. Many people ask, with this much of a problem, with institutionalized racism at the core of our healthcare system, which is failing, what good could a doula do? Last November, it was a typical day of patients for me. My next patient was a woman named Darlene, a Black woman who was close to her due date, and she had brought her doula with her for her visit. I went in to see her. She'd been having a totally normal pregnancy, asking how she was feeling, and she said she was feeling well. I asked her if she had any questions, and she said no. I started to finish my note, getting ready to leave the room, when her doula asked her, "Darlene, did you want to tell the doctor about that fluid you thought might be leaking?" I stopped typing, and I looked at Darlene, and I realized she didn't want anything to be wrong, and she didn't know what was going to happen next. And I also realized she didn't trust me. And why would she? In a 15-minute visit, most of which I'd spent typing and finishing my charting, I hadn't built any trust. But she did trust her doula, and she had told her doula what was happening, and her doula knew I needed to know. That fluid leaking was her bag of water, and it was time for her to go to the hospital for her delivery. Doulas play an essential role to provide support and collaboration through a patient's prenatal care, pregnancy, and delivery. The value of a trusted support person like this cannot be understated. And research shows that patients who have a doula have improved outcomes, feel more invested, and more of a participant in their care. Having more doulas invested in our medical system will decrease the number of planes that are crashing and increase the number of birthday candles that are being lit. Some of the times and places where doulas could have the largest impact, there are challenges, however. Many physicians have a knee-jerk reaction to stating that doulas do not have an understanding of the complex medical conditions. And there's an idea that doulas decrease the ability to make quick medical decisions. These responses, however, ignore the whole point of having a doula. A doula is there to collaborate and increase communication, create context for the situation. And as I know from personal experience, that type of communication is often the foundation of a positive outcome. Another story, this time had just delivered, or helped a patient deliver a baby that was crying on the mom's chest. Beautiful baby boy with dark hair. Mom and dad are both crying tears of joy. And grandmother and aunt are there taking pictures. It was a total celebration when I realized that actually the uterus was starting to bleed. And it was more bleeding than what was typical. So I go into standard protocol mode. I asked for an obstetric hemorrhage code to be called overhead, for the hemorrhage cart to be brought in, stage 2 labs to be drawn, a unit of blood was on its way. And I looked up and I saw concern in the face of my patient and her family. CJ, who was that patient's doula, turned to the patient and said, "You've got this. We're with you." CJ then helped the nurse and the dad take the baby over to the warmer. The aunt came next to the baby and the dad as well. CJ and grandma came up next to the patient's bed and held her hand. While my team and the nurses and I were able to get the bleeding to stop, CJ had orchestrated and communicated safety for the entire family. As we think about the evolution of the healthcare system, we know our system is at a crossroads. And if we want the next evolution to improve outcomes, we need more voices within the system rather than fewer. If we want these planes to stop crashing, we can all do a part. If you're a policy leader, pave the way for doula services in your institution and in institutions. If you're an insurer, create sustainable funding streams that are fair for doula services. If you're a hospital leader, help to increase doulas and invest in them to be part and valued of the medical team. If you're a physician, partner and collaborate with doulas who have a wealth of lived experiences. If you're a nurse midwife, keep offering patient-centered care and excellent outcomes. If you're a doula, thank you. Keep supporting patients and each other. If you're a birthing mama, ask about doula services and how that support might help you. And all of us, everyone, can learn more about doulas, can use our power to ensure that all babies and mamas get to blow out their first birthday candle.